how many reaction videos and response videos to Nintendo's Switch event have you seen so far? How many have been in your subscription feed? And how many of these have been within a short while of it happening? Now that the dust has settled, let's have some real talk. This is my opinion on why the Switch is awesome, but why it still risks failing. And hey, there is a lot of Switch hype all over the internet. The Nintendo fandom has grown, and thus, platforms for sharing and interacting with the fandom have appeared. It's Nintendo Switch Amino, an app for smartphones that lets you access the awesome Nintendo Switch Amino community. It's like Tumblr, Pinterest, and more combined, and all with a focus on Nintendo and its newest console. Ask questions, discuss games, hold polls, share fan art, share your memes, chat, all sorts of things. There's a link in the description for you. Feel free to follow me and other awesome folks on it on there. And a huge thank you to Nintendo Switch Amino for sponsoring this video. So, it's been a week since Nintendo gave us the big information update on their next console, the Nintendo Switch. Many rejoiced, a few booed, and a lot went, yeah, that's neat. I'll still pass, and not mention my passing on social media because why would anyone do that? And I should mention my biases here, I am super excited for it. I have my pre-order ready for my $300 console that will only play Zelda until November. I want Nintendo to succeed. They make most of my favorite franchises and most of my favorite games. There's this weird idea online that people complaining about Nintendo are all Sony and Microsoft fanboys who want to see Nintendo crash and burn. But that's not the case at all. I am just a concerned Nintendo fan. And as a concerned Nintendo fan, I can tell Nintendo did learn a few of their mistakes from the Wii U, but perhaps they didn't learn enough. And don't get me wrong, the Switch is awesome. And it has a good many reasons as to why it will succeed, but also reasons that risk its failure. And that's what we're talking about today. I'm talking about both the good and the bad. And so, let's start with the bad. First thing that is getting people splitting hairs, paid online. This last generation, we saw the PlayStation go paid online as well, leaving Nintendo the only one with it for free. And now, that is a thing of the past. I don't have a problem with it personally, because I rarely play games online myself, but I understand the concern. But let me respond with the concern with what I assume will be the case. Those of you who play Mario Kart, and especially Splatoon and Smash Bros. Online, don't you hate lag? Wouldn't it be great if there was less of it? Nintendo thinks so too, they just don't have the budget for it. Now they will. Plus, they are finally introducing online chat and friends, getting rid of friend codes and just making it normal, which is what people have been asking for forever, possibly just because they know now they'll actually have the budget to do that. But paid online by itself won't kill the console. Only make more people wait for it before getting it. And that might kill the console. During their presentation, they spent a good long while talking about their newest innovation. Or gimmick, as some say. The Joy-Con controller. Much more advanced motion controls, an IR sensor, and most of all, HD rumble. As someone who spends most of their free time on video games, more intelligent rumble sounds amazing. Every little bit of extra immersion that I can receive, the better. But, do you think Joe Schmo, who plays games a few hours a week, cares about fancy rumble? Do you think little Timmy cares? Or his mom? How about the motion controls? Motion controls died halfway through the Wii's life cycle. We already have a Wii, is what killed the Wii U. And it may hurt the Switch too.
Son, we already have a Wii, and here, just use my iPad to play games.
Plus, adding in all those extra little features only adds to the price. Which is why the Joy-Con controllers are the most expensive controllers on the market now. And this is the same thing that the Wii U and 3DS did. They increased the price for everyone for a gimmick that only a few would actually use more than once. Plus, the marketing in this presentation, not that great. I mean, they had a guy from Sega come on and say, "Hey, we're making games for it!" Same with Grasshopper. "Hey, Travis Touchdown is coming back at some point!" So a company that obviously was already going to make games for it, and a company that most people in the West don't even know exists, are both making games for it. Cool. You know what would have been better? If that EA guy not only mentioned sports games, but also BioWare games, and the next Star Wars Battlefront. Or if they had a 10-second video of the Switch logo and Pikachu ears pop up on it, only referencing that Pokemon on the Switch was being worked on. That is good marketing, especially when you were trying to captivate gamers of every kind. The mass market general audience. Fans of Nintendo, fans of Zelda, fans of Mario, of Dragon Quest, Splatoon, they are going to buy this system. This Mario Odyssey has potential to be my new favorite Mario game by a long shot by the looks of it. As does this Zelda. Mario and Zelda both sell systems, at least that's what the fans will tell you. But everyone else will tell you, sure, it sells systems, but only if they are accompanied by other games. More on that in a sec. The marketing again, it isn't there that well. The Switch's big thing is that it's a portable device that can play console-level games for 2 hours with the brightness turned all the way down. But, they aren't really showing that off very much. Probably because of all of its limitations. Like, I know they said 3 to 6 hours, but the screen brightness is always the #1 factor of how long a battery can last. If they are expecting you to use it in a car or outside, you're going to need that brightness up all the way. And 3 to 6 hours is probably just with their own games that they've tested it with. Who's to say that a major third-party game will allow the same length? Anyway, marketing the portability, right. I don't know. I feel like that the initial reveal that commercial is what grabbed mainstream attention, the general public, at least on social media. The social media sphere was super into that idea. They loved it. And judging by that direct, they may not be marketing that point enough anymore, which is a bad thing. But what killed the Wii U besides marketing? A poor selection of games. What is a game device without great games? It's the PlayStation Vita and the Wii U. I mean, obviously both of them have great games, but I mean an abundance of great ones. I mentioned this in a video I did with Arlo a while ago, much before this event. A video about what the Switch would need to do in order to succeed, and so far by the looks of it, they ain't really doing it. Well, they are kinda. Just not enough. The Wii U had a bad launch, which meant it was not worth the time and money of third-party companies to port games to it. So the Wii U became a Nintendo-only system, which killed it. The Wii U is even dead to Nintendo now, hence them porting all of the Wii U games to 3DS and Switch. Little Timmy may want to play Mario and Zelda, but his dad, who makes the money and the decisions, wants to play Madden, Assassin's Creed, and Battlefield. And Metroid Prime 4, by the way, get on that, Nintendo. But since Timmy's dad wants to play all these multi-platform games, that means that Timmy will have to settle for Little Big Planet and Skylanders, because Daddy gets what Daddy wants, and they, like most households, only want, or can only afford, one game console at a time. The Switch needs strong third-party support, or it will die too. To get third-party support, it needs to have a strong launch, or it too will wind up like the Vita and Wii U. And it's only launching with like 5 games. Only one of them noteworthy. 1-2 Switch should have been a free bundled game like Wii Sports. It's a shallow, though still fun, party game. It's a tech demo, basically, and they want $50 for it? Skylanders and Just Dance are already available on other consoles, and Bomberman has been dead for a long time. The Switch only has mainstream attention right now because of Zelda and the successful marketing of it last E3. This is one way Nintendo has learned and did something awesome, by the way. The marketing of Zelda has been excellent, and perhaps Zelda is all it takes to save a system. Only time will tell, though. Honestly, if my job wasn't video games related, I would wait until November to buy a Switch, and that's just at the earliest. And while Breath of the Wild may become the best Zelda of all time, one game doesn't sell systems to the mainstream market. At least not long term. One game gets the hype up and sells pre-orders, but hype dies, and hype doesn't necessarily create long-term support. Look at the plans for the first year. Skyrim, a game that came out in 2011. Sure, people like the idea of being able to play that in bed, but it's not like you couldn't do that before. Plus, most people have already played it. Many have even already bought it and its remaster. Remasters of great games often sell well, but only if they meet one of a few criteria. Either it's the remastering of a much older classic game, or it's a remaster that ports a previously console-exclusive game onto a newer console. Skyrim is neither of these, except to those who only had Nintendo platforms in the recent past. So not very many of you. Alright, and we've got this amazing new Mario, that's great! Shame it's coming out in 8 or 9 months, though, with a high chance of being delayed just like Mario Galaxy. Mario Kart 8, cool! Most people skipped the Wii U. This way, they can play it too. But why isn't it a launch title? A port with a few added extras should be easy. Port Smash Bros. While you're at it. And, well, we do have Skylanders, Just Dance, Minecraft, sports game, Sonic. Good, there are a few big names on there, good, but, what's the rest of this? I know what they are, but from the point of view of a casual consumer who skipped the Wii U, the rest of this is meaningless. And if I skipped the Wii U, I probably either have no interest in them, or already have Skyrim and Minecraft, plenty of sports games, and Skylanders on my other systems. Why would I buy a Switch right now? It will price drop in a few years, and by then it will have many more games that I can't get on my PS4 or whatever. I'll say it again, there needs to be good third-party support. Games need to come out on the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch all at the same time. And every, or at least most, at least half of major third-party games from this point onwards needs to be advertised for the Switch too, in order for the Switch to get back into the race. Will the Switch have the next Battlefield? Or Assassin's Creed? Or Call of Duty? Or Far Cry? Those are annual games that release every year, and I don't see any of them on here. If I were a consumer that skipped a generation or two of games, or even just held out on joining the current one until around now, and I were looking to get into this console generation, and I also wanted those games, or even just those types of games, I wouldn't even consider the Switch. Even if I grew up with Mario and Zelda. I could do without them, so I could play those other games that pander to my more mature sense of taste. And that third-party support won't come without a good launch. Zelda is the only good thing about this launch lineup. And I know most other consoles have had poor launch lineups in the past. I'm sure that's what many of you are going to bring up, but here's the difference. When the PS4 and Xbox One were launched, they may not have had the best lineup of launch titles, but they had promise. People knew that they would have all this third-party support because their previous consoles did. And those previous consoles did well with poor launches because their previous ones did good. The Wii didn't have good third-party support from the big guys, so the Wii U didn't hold that promise. The Wii U had abysmal third-party support, so the Switch needs to prove that it can get it. It needs to be able to advertise that it's getting all of this third-party support, more than just Ubisoft and some other big companies saying, yeah, we'll make games for it, and then not giving any specifics. Because the exact same thing happened with the Wii U. Basically, it's like the Switch is starting a race miles behind. It needs to make up for the shortcomings of Nintendo's past decisions. And to do that, Nintendo needs to push third-party support even harder. It needs to get in your face about how amazing it is. And so far, it's doing not the best, but better than before. Now, I'm not one for blindly criticizing without giving some sort of fix that I think would work. So, if I were president of Nintendo, here's what I would do to fix it. Quite simply, I would delay the Switch. I know, delays are never a good thing in the eyes of many, many morons who prefer broken games sooner over fun ones later, but bear with me. I would delay the Switch until November, or whenever it can release with Mario Odyssey, sometime after E3, and I would have saved this awesome direct reveal for this year's E3, when Nintendo could grab even more big-time attention. Plus, This way, every game it has planned to release between now and November, it would have as a launch title. This launch is crap, but this launch is amazing. Even just half this launch would be amazing. If I were in charge, I'd make sure it launches with Zelda and Mario, and Splatoon 2, and ARMS, along with tons of more ports of Wii U games. Mario Kart, Smash Bros, Freeze Dawn, Hyrule Warriors, all of these. Those, plus Skyrim, Skylanders, Minecraft, sports games, etc. for all the people that like those. As well as plenty of other third-party games that were showed off at E3. Like, get the next Assassin's Creed on there. Get Star Wars Battlefield 2 on it. Other games that get a lot of E3 attention. Imagine if Madden were a part of Nintendo's E3 presentation. If Nintendo showed off the next Tomb Raider. If Nintendo got timed exclusivity on some of these. Not to play into the downsides of the market of gaming today, but just to show that, hey, the Switch can play these games too. And you get the amazing Mario and Zelda. That way, the people planning on getting into the current console generation this year won't say, hey, with the Switch I can play Zelda and Zelda until Mario comes out, and then I can play Mario and Zelda. Ooh, but generic shooter 421 sure looks shiny and brown. I think I'll get that instead. If Nintendo got that third-party support, with these changes, that guy would not say that, and instead say, hey, with the Switch I can play Mario and Zelda. Ooh, but generic shooter sure looks like it's better than the last one. I think I'll get that instead. Wait, I can get generic shooter and Mario and Zelda? Heck yes, triple win! I don't have to choose one or the other like I have every generation before and always go the non-Nintendo route. Nintendo has the potential to win every single console generation, in my opinion. Yes, every single one. They could potentially dominate. Because when it comes to family-friendly content, no other company does nearly as well. When it comes to nicely polished, purely fun, quality exclusives that anyone can enjoy, Nintendo dominates when they choose to. But they lack the more mature third-party games. So if they got them, they would win. Always. Most of the time. Don't get me wrong, they appeal to me perfectly, but I don't represent the majority and I'm not afraid to admit that. Not to say that they aren't making progress though. In fact, I could be totally wrong and the Switch will do amazingly for the reasons I'm getting into now. Here is what Nintendo is doing right this time. 1. No more region locking. That is amazing. For the more niche fields of people that wouldn't even be interested in importing games. The general populace doesn't really care that much, but anyway. In an increasingly globalized economy and ever-connected culture, region locking is exclusively there to be anti-consumer. I'm glad it's gone. We are seeing a more open-world Zelda, which moves the franchise in a direction people have wanted for over a decade. Also, by the looks of it, this may become the darkest Zelda yet. The new Mario is playing with the nostalgia of Mario 64 and Sunshine fans, finally going back to being more open-worlded. Open-worlded, open-ended, explorative. Those are the big buzzwords these days. It's what people in general have wanted for years, and still do. Plus, finally we have a creative Mario again. Instead of Mushroom Kingdom, Desert, Water, Lava, Snow, Jungle, and the same enemies every single time, Mario is innovating. What people have been asking for over 10 years. Xenoblade 2 also is more open. LEGO City Undercover as well. They're showing off Skyrim, and even if it is an old game, it's showing the open-worldedness of the Switch. This may be what Nintendo is becoming. More epic journeys. More what people actually want. This is a change that Nintendo has needed for quite some time. There is a time and a market for simple, fun games, but more and more people are wanting deep, epic journeys. So going from the Wii and Wii U's mentality of just simple fun and switching to this is perfect. Even if there are still plenty of simple fun games. Because there is a market for that. Plus, I think the choice in these games is signaling something. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe could have just been a port with the DLC, But they added new characters and power-ups, and they brought back battle mode, which is what people have been asking for. Mario Odyssey is going back to the style of Mario 64 and Sunshine, which is what people have been asking for. Even though Mario 3D World 2, or even just a port of Mario 3D World, would have sold millions. Same goes for Splatoon 2. They didn't need to make it a sequel. A port would have been just fine, because again, most people skipped the Wii U. But they made a sequel anyway. They are putting in extra efforts to please their fans. And they are starting to listen to their fans for the first time in a long while. And this may be because of a change in leadership and bringing in new people. Not that all these guys are new, but these guys have been mostly behind the scenes until now. But these previously behind the scenes guys are now the guys in charge. They are younger and they're more in tune with what gamers today want, which may be why all of these changes are finally happening. Ooh, and side note, I just finished recording this, and while editing, Arlo posted a video on the same topic, and he brought up that point too, so I'm pretty sure we're onto something. Also, I like when he was talking about when we were doing a reaction video together during the presentation. He and I were both more excited about the Switch using USB-C than anything else. Because that also signifies a great change in Nintendo. I'll put a link to Arlo's video in the card that's in one of these two corners. It's excellent, check it out. There's also the marketing. Wait, I'm being confusing right now. I just said that the marketing was bad, didn't I? Well, it is bad in the more traditional sense. Their presentations aren't quite doing them justice, I think. But on the other side of marketing, for once Nintendo is doing internet and word-of-mouth marketing right. That Nintendo Switch event that happened in New York, they invited not only game journalists from all over, but also YouTubers. Tons of YouTubers. Every YouTuber that matters got invited. And not just invited, but Nintendo paid for their travel to get there, to further encourage them to come. This way, these YouTubers are talking about the Switch. And it's working. For example, I watched Pro Jared's review of the Switch, and more importantly for this example, his review of ARMS, and my opinion of the game skyrocketed. Its commercial made it seem like a gimmicky, long-range punch-out. Fun, but cheap and arcadey. Not very deep. So I had zero interest in it. But now that I've seen Pro Jared play it, and heard his thoughts on it, I now know that it's actually pretty cool. And that point, by the way, perfectly signifies the mishmash of marketing points. The bad marketing was their commercial for it, and the good marketing was listening to a YouTuber. Over the last few years, Nintendo has had a bad relationship with YouTubers, copyright strikes, and the Nintendo Partner Program, and just all kinds of things. Many Let's Players, the huge ones even, have completely refused to play Nintendo games because of all the drama around them. Perhaps their change in leadership and their warming up to YouTubers means that this will change. Let's Plays are like free advertising in most cases, and Nintendo has been the only major gaming company without that free advertising, or at least with a lot less of it. So if that changes, Nintendo will do a lot better. And also, pre-orders for the Switch are already selling out. But Nintendo also has a problem with scalpers, as well as limiting supplies. So we don't know exactly how many pre-orders are even available. But hey, it's early enough. Selling out pre-orders means that they are already working on the next batch of Switch consoles. And if those pre-orders are selling out to millions, then yeah, the Switch is going to have an excellent launch. And with an excellent launch comes the third-party support. And also those third parties won't have a lot of competition because there aren't many games releasing in its first year. But I do fear that the only thing selling the Switch right now is hype. And hype dies. Especially the year right after so many of us learned the true dangers of hype with the likes of No Man's Sky. But I am hoping that this time, hype is the perfect marketing strategy, and Zelda alone can push pre-orders to start running out of stock. Then maybe the Switch will have its great launch that it so desperately needs, at least in terms of numbers. And those numbers will encourage third-party support, blah blah blah, I just said all that. I mean, after all, the PlayStation 3 had a crummy first few years, and it managed to keep up the pace and push forward, recover, and wind up being fantastic. So you don't necessarily need a great launch to do well. It just helps. The Switch may be the same way. As more and more games start coming out for it years down the road, it may just have a slow start, like a boulder or a snowball, slowly starting to roll down the mountain, and then eventually it just barrels out of control and goes everywhere. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen when Pokemon comes out on the Switch. And so far, commercials for the Switch have YouTube views higher than the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One commercials. The whole world is watching Nintendo in interest for the first time since like 2009. To me, that says Nintendo is saved. People are reaching out to Nintendo, and Nintendo is reaching out to them out of the bad sales ditch, and they are holding on. But Nintendo has very greasy hands, and gamers do too. So the people need to hold on to Nintendo very tightly, and Nintendo needs to hold on to the people's interest very, very tightly, or else they'll just slip and fall, and it'll be the Wii U all over again. We all know that the Switch will be awesome, even with the odds stacked against it. And even if it doesn't do that well, or it takes a while to get rolling, let's still enjoy it. After all, this is 2017. Perhaps this year is blessed by the gaming gods. I mean, 1997 and 2007 are both considered to be two of the greatest years in gaming history. So maybe 2017 will be too. And yes, that is a segue into me plugging myself. Want to know why those 2 years are considered to be the best years of gaming? Well, I have these 2 videos right here. And again, this video is just a compilation of my thoughts, but what do you think? Agree with me or think I'm bogus? Hit like or dislike respectively. And check out Nintendo Switch Amino. Link in the description. Until next time, I'm Loxton, signing off. And hey, there is a lot of Switch hype all over the internet. The Nintendo fandom has grown, and thus, platforms for sharing and interacting with the fandom have appeared. It's Nintendo Switch Amino, an app for smartphones that lets you access the awesome Nintendo Switch Amino community. It's like Tumblr, Pinterest, and more combined, and all with a focus on Nintendo and its newest console. Ask questions, discuss games, hold polls, share fan art, share your memes, chat, all sorts of things. There's a link in the description for you. Feel free to follow me and other awesome folks on it on there, and the good and the bad. And so, let's start with the bad. First thing that is getting people splitting hairs, paid online. This last generation, we saw the PlayStation go paid online as well, leaving Nintendo the only one with it for free. And now, that is a thing of the past. I don't have a problem with it personally, because I rarely play games online myself, but I understand the concern. But let me respond with the concern with what I assume will be the case. Those of you who play Mario Kart, and especially Splatoon and Smash Bros. Online, don't you hate lag? Wouldn't it be great if there was less of it? Nintendo thinks so too, they just don't have the budget for it. Now they will. And a huge thank you to Nintendo Switch Amino for sponsoring this video. So, it's been a week since Nintendo gave us the big information update on their next console, the Nintendo Switch. Many rejoiced, a few booed, and a lot went, yeah, that's neat. I'll still pass, and not mention my passing on social media, because why would anyone do that? And I should mention my biases here, I am super excited for it. I have my pre-order ready for my $300 console that will only play Zelda until November. I want Nintendo to succeed. They make most of my favorite franchises and most of my favorite games. There's this weird idea online that people complaining about Nintendo are all Sony and Microsoft fanboys who want to see Nintendo crash and burn. But that's not the case at all. I am just a concerned Nintendo fan. And as a concerned Nintendo fan, I can tell Nintendo did learn a few of their mistakes from the Wii U, but perhaps they didn't learn enough. And don't get me wrong, the Switch is awesome. And it has a good many reasons as to why it will succeed, but also reasons that risk its failure. And that's what we're talking about today. I'm talking about both. How many reaction videos and response videos to Nintendo's Switch event have you seen so far? How many have been in your subscription feed? And how many of these have been within a short while of it happening? Now that the dust has settled, let's have some real talk. This is my opinion on why the Switch is awesome, but why it still risks failing.